Okay, in the last video for this chapter, we are going to look at how we might summarize our data in R. So what I'm talking about there is generating a table of descriptive statistics to tell us sort of an overall picture of something in our data. Now, we did this in chapter 1, or was it chapter 2? Can't remember, in Excel. So this is almost exactly the same thing, but we're going to do it in R. Okay, so here I am in the book. Now, I am going to ask you to cut and paste this script. Okay, and we'll discuss it, but the important thing here, and I've already written it in the text, is sometimes you're going to be given scripts and you're not going to understand every single line in it. In fact, that is very rare when you are so fluent in code that you can just write a script like this. Okay, you have to Google the hell out of everything, or find an example and rework it, and the understanding often comes later. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to forgive me for not immediately explaining everything here. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut and paste this script in order to answer the following question. And the question is, what are the top 10 families with the highest number of neonate body mass observations, along with this summary statistics: mean, median, max, min, and standard deviation. So what I'm going to do there is I want to create a table. I want to count the families this time, not the orders, and I want to just take the top 10 most frequently occurring families in the data, or the data points that they correspond to, and then I'm going to summarize their mean, median, max, and min, and standard deviation by family. Okay, and I've already solved the problem. I've already written the scripts. So what I'm going to ask you to do, in fact, there's already the output as well. You can see here, this is what you're expecting. So you're actually expecting the Bovidae family to be the most frequent. And you can see there's the mean, median, max, min, and all nicely formatted to one decimal place as well. So let's see if we can reproduce that output. I'm going to copy all of that. I'm going to go back. This is where I was earlier. I'm going to, let's make that a bit smaller. In fact, let's do that. Right, and then I'm actually going to create a new script file here. Okay, so don't paste that into the file you were working with earlier. Let's create a new one. Let's save it, and let's call it family summary.r. Okay, and I'm going to paste that. Right. So I'm then going to take a deep breath and cross my fingers, and I'm going to click the source button to run everything. Now, before I do that, I just want to check a few things. One, I've got to make sure that I've still got my Pantheria _ 999 CSV, because that's the file it's trying to read. And if it's not in there, I'm going to get an error. I'm going to tidy this up as well, so when I run it, it runs. Okay, so I'm going to ignore that bit of red at the end, but it's actually done it. So I can see here, this table it should be identical to what we had in the book. So it's done it. Okay, let's go on then. Let's have a chat about what's going on here. I've read. Okay, let's do it line by line. Line 2, I'm reading the data. Right, you've done that in the previous examples as well. I'm then filtering the data. Okay, so I'm not slicing it. I'm just going to go straight to filtering it. I've created a new variable called data filters, and the only data I'm interested in filtering, I should say, is this case the neonate body mass. Okay, in grams. And rather than go greater than or equal to 0, I've just said not equals minus 999. Okay, so anytime you see an asterisk equals, it means not equals. If I wanted it all to be equal, I would put a double equals, confusingly, but it's not equals. Okay, so that will create a variable called data filter, which is just, and you can see here, I've still got all of the columns in my data filtered, but for the neonate, where is it? Neonate. I can't even find it. There it is, neonate body mass. I shouldn't have any -999 values in this table now. Great. Okay, I could have sliced it and just selected that column, but I was lazy and I just did it on the whole data set. Okay, now this is the big thing here. I'm creating a new variable called summary table, and I'm using this beast of a function here called aggregate. Okay, now I didn't know what this did to begin with. I had to look it up, actually go and read the documentation. I'm not suggesting you do that here and now, but what this function is doing is it's going to take your neonate body mass by family. Okay, so it's going to group all of those rows into the families. Okay, so this is the relationship I'm looking at. I'm then feeding in the data, and then I'm doing something really weird, which, you know, it's not easy to understand this bit. I'm using a function within a function, and the function here is returning all of the mean, median, max, min, and standard deviation, and importantly, the counts of all of the rows corresponding to each family. Okay, now that is a beast of a line, and I don't expect you to understand it or ever recall that from memory or use it from scratch. But I expect you to remember that you've done it here and now, so you can always go back and use this and tweak it or however in the future. Okay, now what that will do, that will create a an object which is called a table, and a table is just a kind of a very ugly batch of data. You know, it's just, if I was to print it out, it wouldn't look very nice. It'd be a bit difficult to interpret. So I really, in R at least, like to look at things like data frames, which is anything that looks like it in a table here. So at the moment, I wouldn't be able to look at this variable in a data frame. I could only print it out to the console. And that's what the next line is doing. Is this do.call is actually converting my summary table to a data frame. I could have done that in any other way. I could have just probably done data frame open bracket summary table, would have done the same thing. I've done it slightly differently here. And then what I'm also doing is I'm renaming the headers in the table. So right now, if I was to look at this, it would look pretty ugly because the labels on the headers would be really quite obfuscated. They would say, they would be a combination of the summary table with family, so it wouldn't look very nice. So I'm just renaming the tables here, table headers I should say. Then underneath I am slicing. You can see these are slices, right? So, and what I'm doing is I'm doing something a bit different here. I'm saying for the values in the rows corresponding to this slice, I want to overwrite it with the same values that are rounded to 1 decimal place. So that's what's happening here. This line is rounding all of my values in columns 2 to 6. So that's mean, median, max, min, standard deviation to 1 decimal place. Okay. And then the last thing I'm doing to my summary table is I am going to order it by count, and I'm going to order it so that it starts with the highest number first and then decreases. And that's why I put a minus sign here. It's reversing, it's descending, we say. So I put the order function to represent my rows. I want all the columns, and then I'm going to feed that back to the summary table, so it's going to select those, and then I've also sliced that to only give me the top 10 values according to counts. So the the families with the highest counts, the top 10 families with the highest counts, will appear in my summary table. Okay, and I printed it out. Actually, I've done something else as well as printed it out. I have written it to a CSV file, and if you look in your project, you should see summary table CSV. I can actually view that file from here, and there it is. That's the CSV. I could import that into Excel if I wanted to, format it, stick it in a Word document. There you go. So, okay, that was what you just did was a big thing, and you did it on faith that the code was correct, and that is quite common in coding. The job here for you is going to be able to reuse this bit of code to learn something else about your data or to summarize something else. So it might not be neonate body mass, or it might not be family, in which case I'd have to replace these bits here with whatever I wanted to look at. There you go. Hope that makes sense. That is the end of this chapter.